Good afternoon, everyone. John Cormier again, petitioner for the class action, representative for the class action with Longueuil Greenfield Park and the estate of Francois Lamar. It is June 9th, with only 7 days to go to the deadline. This is going to be a very short video. It's also going to be my final video because with 1 week to go, I'm exhausted. I'm out of ideas on how to convince people that it's a safe path to travel and to reach out to lawyers. So I've got to step away. I'm done. I think I've done all that I possibly can do, and I think it's apropos that I sit in front of our buddy Gord to give thanks to those who have helped me over time here. I want people to know that my family has sacrificed a great deal over 8 years to get this case to where it is today. Anyone believing or spreading rumors that somehow this is a financial windfall for me, they're simply delusional, and they're spreading horrible lies. I've lost significantly in 8 years to do this, but it was something that I chose to do and I needed to do, or it would bother me the rest of my life. So in areas of financial areas, family time, time with friends, final 2 years, my son was home before university. I was pretty much 10 hours a day working this case, long before the arrest was made. I even had to fold one of the businesses because I just couldn't focus on it anymore. It was getting too much. Naively, I expected that there would be hundreds of former teammates and people in Greenfield Park that would run up and flood the lawyers with calls once the announcement of settlement was made public. I couldn't have been more incorrect. The past 6 months after the settlement was ratified by the courts, I've tried every angle, every explanation. I've reached out to people. I've targeted people. I've sent things in groups. I've hassled media personalities to try and help me, all with the hope that some of the victims would take the path that was made safe for them. And it just seems to be an exercise in futility. I'm shocked, I'm saddened, I'm disappointed. I guess I'm a little bit pissed off too. I know there are a lot of victims out there, and I know what has come forward is, scratching the surface. I know there are 1,500 minimum out there, and the more I work at it, even to this day, the more I discover that this was widespread and pretty disgusting. So I'm going to post some pictures and tell you quick stories about perhaps my life and coming across this coach for the first time. And I'm going to run through this real quickly. So I'm going to throw up picture number 1, which is 1971-72. So this was the very first year that moved to Greenfield Park. Our family didn't know anything about inner city hockey. All we knew was they were going to join me up for hockey. I was going to play hockey for the first time organized, but I had already probably a few really good years of skating in Montreal before we moved. So when we moved to Montreal, I was pretty ahead of the curve. And I'm not saying that to impress anybody. I'm trying to tell you how it became unfortunate situation where I met this pedophile coach. But in 70-71, I first saw him wrestling with probably 10-year-old, 11-year-old kids about my age. And some of them became my teammates in later years. But I saw him because the friends that I'd made early on wanted to go to the arena on a Saturday. I had no idea what that meant. But what it did mean was You go to the arena and everybody in town was there watching Saturday football. So we were there playing, and I could see this guy. I didn't know he was a coach. I didn't know what inner city hockey was, but vaguely remember. Vaguely, no, I clearly remember. I should say I could snap a picture and tell you exactly where it was, right at the arena in back of the end zone of the old football field and the old arena. So as time went on, to make a long story short, as time went on, I was doing really well with this team I was playing. I didn't want to be uprooted because he was coming to my games, wanted me to come and play with his inner city team, which I had no idea what it was, but I went to a couple of practices. I didn't want to leave the friends that I'd made. The general manager of that team, as I show picture number 2 here, 71-72, the general manager was Ron Heavyside or Heavysage. I can't remember his name, but he's on the right-hand side. And this guy, turns out that he worked at Northern Telecom where my mother worked, and he used to pick her up to go to work. So he was pressing her to get me to come to play with this team. Meanwhile, the coach on the left, you can see what a nice friendly face that is by this picture. He was coming to the game, so I was getting pressured from all sides, and I had no interest in it at all. That was really the first encounters I started to have with him, with later wrestling in the arena and things of that nature. The following year, which was 72, 73, was my first year of, that would have been my second year of Mosquito. And you can see the coach on the upper right. And in this picture, there are 6 guys that moved shortly after this picture was taken. Coincidence? Who knows? I don't know. But I can tell you that there are some guys in this picture that had some very serious drug, alcohol, and health issues in adult life. And I've explained what those could mean to people who have suffered with childhood trauma. Next picture is my first year of Pee Wee. That would be 73, 74. And although he didn't coach this year, I'm uncertain how or why Mr. Ross got this team. It seems very, very odd because his son was playing Bantam, which means he couldn't be in 2 places at one time. Often we would play after one another, but not all the time. So he would want to get to his son's games as well, and that would have been Dougie Ross. So in this picture, there were 6 guys that moved after this picture was taken. And I can tell you that although this guy wasn't coaching at that time, he was at all of the games because he coached the year prior. So it would have been, this is my first year Pee Wee, so he was still coaching year 2 of Mosquito with a younger group of guys. And again, mysteriously, 6 guys moved. Next picture is my second year Pee Wee, and now this was at the height and worst of the abuse that I was experiencing from this coach, because at this time he had somehow maneuvered his way into my home with my parents. They loved the guy, and I didn't know this at the time, but during my police reports and discussions with the QPP at the time, it was one of their experts who told me that what I'm seeing in this picture is pretty terrifying, because you can see him, I'm circled, and he's right behind me. I didn't realize that. How could I? I wouldn't have known, but I didn't realize that is a position of power and a position of ownership. It was as though he was in a relationship with me, and he was guarding his possession, I guess, is lack of a better way to say it. So this was the worst that it was for me. And I knew at that point I would have to get away from him somehow. So I don't have a first year Bantam picture, because that was the year I decided that the only way I could get away from him, as he was going to be coaching that first year Bantam team. Excuse me. The only way I could get away from him was to pretend that I'd never played hockey before and not know what position was, and I couldn't skate, and they would ultimately have to cut me. And thankfully, it worked, and I felt a huge pressure and relief because at that time we had a lot of kids playing in Greenfield Park. There was a B team, and as soon as I got free of this coach, I excelled on that team, and they were trying to get me to come back, and there was no way on earth I was coming back to this guy. I was breaking all ties with him. And so I think this year or the year prior, he introduced me to golf and started taking me to golf. That meant that he had access to me all year round, summer as well. So this was the year that I convinced my parents to spend this massive amount of $65 to join me as a junior member at Country Club Montreal. And I stayed there for many years to come. But I knew that if I was a member at a club, my parents would not allow me to go and play at other clubs and have to spend money. So that was my opportunity and my thinking of getting away from him for the summer as well. So I completely broke ties. As I said, it's the last pick I'm gonna show you, and in this pick here, 4 guys moved directly after this season. And again, there's some core guys there, and several of them had alcohol, drug, and health issues as adults. I've discovered a trend over the last 2 to 3 weeks that I wasn't aware of, but it seems that this coach had a knack for being able to find families in crisis, either by a death of a parent or by a divorce. But I got to tell you, he was all over town, the stories that I'm getting right now, and I don't know how he found time, to be honest with you. He was that, to feed his disgusting habit of abusing children, he was all over the town doing this for years upon years upon years, and no one stopped him. No one put the brakes to this guy and allowed him to go out of control for 50 years. So yeah, there was a trend. Not all of his victims were in his hockey picks, is the point I'm trying to make. He was convincing kids who weren't able to make the inner city or traveling teams that he would work with them and make them better players, and then next year they can be on his team. So it was always the lure of the coach and trying to get the kids in. So that's it for hockey picks. My next pick I'm going to show you, this is 1974-75. Somebody sent this to me and I very nearly fell off my chair when I saw it for the first time. Back in those days, I was also reffing little kids hockey. So as refs, we would also have the opportunity to work public skating. To make a little extra cash. I mean, it was, I don't know, $5 or $6, whatever it was. It was just a little extra money. And someone sent this to me. Now you can see on the right-hand side, here it is, the coach pedophile on I think a Saturday afternoon, public skating, and he's got kids surrounding him everywhere, even in the foreground. And that on the left circle, that's me. And I can tell you that's me because that's a Lions jacket. I was working public skating. I was the only one, and I always wore it unbuttoned, so it's completely unbuttoned. That's me in the middle, all right? And what is absolutely shocking to me is this coach was on the ice at least a couple of times with our team. I know he played old-timer hockey, and he played police hockey, so he was on the ice easily 4 to 5 times a week. Why would he need to go to public skating? That's for kids hacking around or learning to skate, or older folks just looking to get out for the afternoon. So it seems quite clear to me that public skating was just another avenue for him to reach another pool of kids that perhaps didn't exist to him earlier. And then he would just stand around the arena in Uredes for the rest of the day wrestling with kids. And as teams started to come and games would finish, it would be a rotational basis of all of the kids that finished would come to Eddie's, they'd play with the coach, and then the next teams would come, and it was all weekend, all the time, constant. My final pick, guys, is the Little House of Horrors, I call it, on Springfield. I'm not sure if anybody else was to this house, but if you were certainly in the danger zone. I do know of some guys that were there. One former teammate told me that he went there and his dad found out and was furious. So parents knew. Parents knew about this guy, and as long as it wasn't their kid, they didn't really seem to care all that much. They allowed it to continue. So back to me without pictures now. In conclusion, guys, I just want to say that there is absolutely no reasonable explanation, no reason under the sun for a grown 30-year-old, 30-something-year-old adult to meet up with a minor. It does not matter what the situation is. It's just not natural. It's illegal. It's sick. It is a whole bunch of things. And in Greenfield Park, this professional pedophile was allowed and encouraged to hang out exclusively with 10 and 12-year-old kids for 50 years. He never had any adult friends. He just hung around the arena and scoped out kids constantly all his life. It takes just one time, and it takes only minutes to change the course of a kid's life. And this was happening daily. And it is sick, and I'm pretty disgusted by it because of the stories that I think I knew it, but when I start to hear the stories, it just sickens me. And, think of it now. Would you feel comfortable with your young 10, 11-year-old going biking with a 30-year-old who comes to your door to call on him? Let's go biking. I mean, come on. Common sense would tell you. It is not natural. It's not normal. You wouldn't allow it. How about at the arena? What if you saw your 10-year-old wrestling and being grabbed and fondled by this coach? Of course you would freak out. You would probably assault the guy. You would. I know you would. I would. Everyone would. So I don't understand why victims are still continuing to allow the behaviors that were done to them as children. And this is your chance right now. This is your chance for some redemption and vindication. So I'm at a loss to understand why my teammates that you saw in those pictures and so many others are just remaining silent when this is your opportunity to change the course of history in Greenfield Park, to make yourself feel better, to finally get the truth out and lift the cloud and the heaviness that you've been living with all of your life. The things that have held you back from work and held you back in life in every facet. It's time. It's time. And I feel there's so many victims out there that after experiencing the childhood trauma that I have, they've been walking around through life with high-functioning depression. At minimum, high-functioning depression. You've never had an opportunity to live life to its fullest. It was derailed early on as a child. And you've been squeaking through days your whole life, just wondering how you got through it. You're happy to get through one without a conflict. I remain convinced there's a minimum 1,500 victims out there. And I can't imagine why people are still not willing to speak out when the path is so clear and so easy. You're not going to be cross-examined by any other lawyers. You're going to be listened to and believed by our lawyers and the adjudicator. It is a clear path. Everyone's on your side. This is my final plea to you guys. Now's the time. So, as I sign off from you guys for the last time, I want to leave you with this. My wife is Jewish, and there is a very famous old Jewish proverb about saving a life. I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess it up. It reads, "Whoever saves one life, it is as if he saves the entire world." Now, I'm uncertain if that is overly dramatic, but I want everyone listening to know that if I was in fact able to help just one person through this 8 years and say the last 6 months to come forward and cleanse themselves and feel better, I want you to know that it was my extraordinary pleasure and extraordinary honor to have done so. I thank you for listening, and I'm still here if anyone would like to reach out. And again, as Gore would say, hey man, thanks. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye for now.